Come here, Christopher.
I'd hear coming from outside of my window. Every night, the same raspy voice would beckon me forwards, taunting my every move. I've tried to sleep through it, but nothing works. Earbuds? I can still hear her over the blaring music. Earmuffs? She's somehow still audible. To this day, I've never opened my window nor my curtains when she tries calling me. However, one night was different. I grew weary, tired even, of the constant harassment. I wanted it to stop. I wanted her to go away. So I began to listen to her instructions and inch towards the windowsill, destined to put an end to her berating once and for all. Pulling the curtains back slightly, I heard a faint sigh of relief. But as I'd unveiled the outside world, nothing lurked behind the frosted glass. A chill went down my spine, as if I had done something I shouldn't have. Like an unspoken rule being broken. Shutting the curtains, I leapt into bed and pulled the blankets over my head. I couldn't bear the thought of that woman returning, especially now when I've listened to her commands. But she seemingly stopped. After that one night, after allowing myself to push through my own fears, she quit. Life went back to normal for a while. I attended high school with a rested mind, and the bags under my eyes began to clear. Everything felt right for once. Normal. Too normal, even. Worried that the woman would ever return, I told my parents about her, but to no avail, they didn't believe my story. I'd apparently lied to them too much in the past for them to automatically have my trust in a serious situation such as this one. Telling my mother and father was the worst mistake I've ever made. That night, the raspy voice returned. It was now deepened and with more of a shrill tone to it, as if it were getting weaker.
Come here, Christopher. Let me see you.
It spoke from behind the curtains. Standing my ground once more, no longer afraid of the mysterious voice that stood outside the window, I crept forwards. I could hear rustling coming from the trees outside as the wind began to pick up. I grabbed the corner of the closed curtain and yanked it to the side. What stood outside my window still terrifies me till this very day. A thin, lanky figure stood watching me with white, beady eyes. Her long, shriveled arms and veins that popped out of her throat proved she hadn't ate in a long while. I could see a pool of drool leak from her crooked, dry lips. She smiled a wide, toothy grin, baring the sharpened teeth that sat within her mouth.
Why don't you let me in?
She managed to croak out. I gasped in terror as I landed on my behind with a thud. My parents heard the noise and began rushing to my aid, but the door to my bedroom got jammed. I could hear and see the knob jiggle around as they tried to enter with no succession.
Christopher.
The woman. No, the thing muttered out. It reached onto the glass of the window, balled its hand into a fist, and slammed the glass right out of the frame, shattering it into tiny shards.
I'm hungry, Christopher.
It began to hover towards me, not even landing a single foot on the floor. I screamed, grasping at the doorknob, pulling with all of my might, but it was no use. It was almost as if the door was enchanted to stay shut. "Please don't hurt me!" I screamed out and hunched over onto the door. I clasped my hands into a prayer and began to chant. A loud hiss came from the other side of the room as the thing dropped from its hovering stance and began to angrily stomp towards me. Its legs bent in two different directions as it walked, as if it were mimicking human behavior. And then it leapt towards me. I could feel the teeth of the monster clasp onto my thigh as it munched on the outer skin. I began to throw my fists into its face, slamming one hand into its eye. A shrill shriek came from it as it hopped backwards and out of the window and into the night. The door to my room slammed open, and both of my parents bent down at my side, holding my thigh to prevent blood from rushing out. An ambulance was called not too long after, and I was taken to a hospital where they patched up my thigh. The doctor and my parents had some serious arguments in the hallway after I was treated. My mother screamed, "Ma'am, it's unreasonable to believe that the bite on your son's inner thigh could have been caused from anything but a small to medium-sized animal. It's not possible. Those aren't human-shaped teeth marks." Those words stuck in my head till this very day. After I was discharged and released from the hospital's care, we moved several states away to escape the creature. I hadn't heard from it since. Well, that was until tonight. The familiar raspy voice lured outside of my window.
Christopher,